You wake up every morning feeling like you're trapped in a system that wasn't made for you, not really made for anyone who wants more than comfort, more than the cookie cutter life they sell on TV. You're told to play by the rules, follow the path, keep quiet, and not ask too many questions. But deep down, every step feels like sinking in quicksand. The harder you try to move, the more stuck you get. That frustration? It's real. It's raw. It's the poison in the veins of every founder, every investor, every leader who's made something from nothing only to find themselves locked out of the places where real power lives. This is the silent crisis eating away at the brightest minds and the boldest spirits. You didn't start your journey to get swallowed by a system that rewards mediocrity and punishes brilliance. Yet here you are, facing walls built by outdated ideas, by people who have no clue what real progress looks like. It feels like the world is handing you a map to nowhere, promising freedom but delivering chains. Security at the cost of your soul. Belonging that feels more like cheap approval than meaningful connection. A future designed for numbers, not for people craving true impact. And here's the bitter truth nobody dares to say out loud. The world has no place for the exceptional, not the real exceptional, not the founders who dream of building nations from scratch, not the investors who want to fuel revolutions, not the leaders who refuse to bow to compromise. The systems are designed to grind you down or spit you out, not to lift you up and light a fire that burns beyond borders. But what if the problem isn't just the system, but the very idea that we have to live inside someone else's nation, someone else's idea of home? What if there's a way to escape the suffocation without running away? What if the future isn't about fighting to fit in, but about creating entirely new spaces where freedom, innovation, and sovereignty aren't just buzzwords, but living, breathing realities? Imagine a place where you don't just invest in startups, you build entire startup nations. Places born from the minds of the few who refuse to be tamed, who see beyond the walls of governments and corporations and outdated doctrines. Nations not bound by geography, laws, or traditions, but powered by a shared mission to disrupt everything. A revolution that doesn't ask for permission because it's rooted in a different kind of power: personal sovereignty. This isn't fantasy. It's happening. Family offices, those silent giants with capital and vision, are stepping out of the shadows and imagining territories built on something far deeper than money alone. They're creating networks, a new kind of nation, where ideas flow faster than borders, where collaboration replaces competition, and where true alignment sparks exponential growth. This network isn't defined by flags or borders, but by values, by will, by that relentless desire to refuse the comfortable, to challenge the consensus, and to become more. And that's where the game changes. Those family offices are not just managing wealth. They're forging new kinds of power, unlocking it from the chains of old systems, and enabling founders and investors to do what was always impossible: build spaces where the rare gather, where the misfits connect, and where the misunderstood become unstoppable. Think about it. Instead of hunting for capital in cramped rooms, you step into a collective that's wired differently, a place that doesn't scale noise but amplifies essence, where your vision isn't trimmed to fit some marketer's pitch, but burns brighter at full throttle. Here's the core. Power today isn't in assets or territories. It's in autonomy, connection, and alignment. The old nations promise freedom with one hand and handcuffs with the other. These startup nations, born from family offices and pioneers, deliver something else. They hand you the weapon of your will, sharpened by selectivity and patience. In these new nations, you don't just belong. You become. You sculpt your reality with the few who get it, the few who burn as fiercely as you do. But it's not easy. Liberation is never handed out with a smile. It's ripped from the jaws of comfort. It demands you question everything, especially what you believe about freedom, success, and power. Are you ready to unlearn the rules drilled into you from birth? To break free from the cycle of safe choices designed to keep you compliant? Because the real breakthrough happens when you stop lending your fire to systems that dim your light and start building structures that honor your spark. Family offices craving more than structure and stability, They're pushing for networks where the rare find each other, where divergence is celebrated, not punished. These aren't communities built for the many, but movements forged by the few, where the unusual becomes the foundation for the future. Imagine this. Your network isn't a crowd, it's your tribe. Those who don't just nod in agreement, but challenge, critique, and elevate you. Where each connection makes you stronger, not diluted. This is the alchemy of the startup nation, transforming misaligned genius into aligned power. The system you face every day is a lie wrapped in comfort. It smiles while suffocating you, promising freedom but offering chains. It's polite but cruel. It welcomes innovation in words but kills it in deeds. Real progress doesn't come from comfort zones or big centralized powers. It comes from edges, the bold few rewriting reality, breaking molds, and stubbornly refusing to be tamed. The founders building startup nations under the radar are those edges made flesh. If you're feeling that quiet rage, that restless fire inside telling you there's more than this, that you were made for a life bigger than the one sold as normal, you're not alone. You're part of a hidden revolution. A network, not of noise but of essence, awaits. It's where founders, investors, and leaders step beyond identity, beyond comfort, beyond systems that failed them. It's where they become sovereign, where they wield their will like a weapon and wield patience as their shield. Within this space, the so-called boundaries vanish. Borders mean nothing because what connects you is far stronger than geography. It's vision, alignment, and the ruthless pursuit of what's next. These are the new startup nations, not on any map, not under any flag, but alive inside those who dare to build them. These nations aren't about belonging to a place. They're about belonging to a purpose, a mission, a future not yet written. You might think this is risky, maybe even impossible. But the biggest breakthroughs always are. The real question is, can you afford not to try? Can you afford to live chained to systems that don't value your fire, your brilliance, your hunger? This is a call not for the comfortable, not for those satisfied with borrowed lives or diluted dreams. It's for those burning hot enough to break free, for those ready to refuse the status quo and rewrite the rules on their own terms. The family offices that are creating these startup nations know this. They aren't here to patch the old world. They're here to build a new one from scratch, brick by brick, connection by connection. A place that honors your individuality, because that's where true unity finds its strength. If that fire inside you is more than frustration, if it's a calling to rise, to transcend, to remake not just your world, but the world at large, then there's nowhere else to go but forward. These startup nations are waiting for their builders, their visionaries, their rebels. Because it's not just about changing the world anymore. It's about unleashing those who will. There's no time to waste. The future isn't going to wait for permission. It's being built right now, quietly but powerfully, in the spaces where the rare come together, guided not by laws, but by will. The question isn't if you can be part of it. The question is, can you afford not to be?